Hi again, and welcome to Making Vinyl at Masterdisc. I'm Scott, this is Garrett. Let's get right to it. Today's topic is the Racetrack Grooves.
Off to the races.
Off to the races. My favorite question to ask young engineers is how many grooves are on a typical record?
The smart answer is one, right?
The smart answer is one. One groove starts at the beginning of the record and continues all the way to the end until the terminal groove, the lockout groove. We talk about how many grooves per inch there are, but they're not separate grooves. They obviously have to be continuous. Some interesting folks back in the day figured out that if you manipulate the speed that the cutter head moves across the record, you can cut the first groove with a big space between the grooves. And then you can come back a second time and put another groove between those two grooves. Mm-hmm. That has this different program. I have this hilarious story, or I think it's hilarious. I've told it before. Big Monty Python fan when I was a kid. Collected the records, but I didn't have this one record. But my friend did, and he lent it to me. And so, I wanted to make a copy of it, and I had a cassette recorder machine, of course. And so I played the A side of this Monty Python record. We'll put a picture of the cover up, as the name escapes me at the moment. But I played the A side, recorded it to cassette, flipped over the cassette, played the B side, flipped it over, sent it back, gave it back to my friend. But I'm that kind of friend that actually returns the records when borrowing them. And we were sitting around weeks later talking about that record, and they're reciting a skit that I'd never heard. And I was like, and they said, it's on that record. It's like, no, it's not. I said, I've listened to the thing 15 times. That skit's not on that record. It's like, yes, it is. And they put on the record and played this skit that I'd never heard. I'm like, how the hell did this happen? Well, it turns out that record, the B side of that record, had two different programs, completely unrelated, except they started the same way. So you didn't know which program you were going into until it was actually started. So when I dubbed it, my needle only found the one groove. In short, the grooves start from opposite sides of the record. Like if the turntable stopped and you put the needle down here and then you start the turntable, you'll hear the first groove that peels off. But if you turn 180 degrees over this way and drop your needle over here, you'll then hear the second groove, which is now the first groove. You'll hear the other groove peel off, and they go around the record, not like a helix. I just can't do it with my fingers, but they're concentric circles,
yes,
starting from the same safety groove and ending in the same lockout groove at the end, but they got a different program. And it turns out it's really hard to do. And it takes some specific equipment. Actually, these modern lathes kind of get in your way because they pack the grooves together. So to make it work, you have to actually shut off that feature and do fixed pitch cutting. That sounds weird if I don't say it right. I need to have a documented amount of space between each grooves, wide enough that I can drive the next groove in between them. And when I say drive, I literally mean I have to sit here on the scope of the lathe, looking at the grooves as they're happening, and adjust the cutter head speed, steering it between the two grooves. So we literally have a groove here and a groove here, and then I have this groove, and as it goes along it starts to wander over to this side. Well, I got to speed it up and I can't go too fast because it gets too close to that one. And so this middle one goes between the two. This is a record band named Shy, and they were absolutely determined to make a dual groove record. And on the B side of this, there's two songs. And on the second of the two songs, one of the grooves is the female lead vocals, but on the other groove, it's the male lead vocal, same song. And so you don't know when you're starting that side whether you're going to get her singing the last cut or him singing the last cut, and or he. It's very subtle. It's not even notated on here that there's anything. Literally, just like the Monty Python record, they just wanted to treat people to something different.
That's a way to do a hidden track.
That is a hidden track.
Yeah, that's a hidden track.
You don't even know that you don't know that it's not there. So a couple of caveats. This takes quite a bit of time. And it takes a lot of care, and there are a lot of people that cut records that will not do this or just won't even attempt it because it's, I think I scrapped, I was really concerned about not wasting a lot of lacquers, but I think I scrapped 4 sides in the making of this thing just because
Could have been a lot worse.
it could have been a lot worse. Well, I got to a point where I could predict where the groove was going to land. Some of the technology here helped me get the groove started on opposite sides of the turntable. And the repeatability, the predictability of this machine made it a little easier. But then I'm reminded of 50 years ago or so, there was I think it was a 45. It might have been a 12-inch 45. It might have been a 7-inch 45. But there was a record made specifically for servicemen. And it was used for gambling. They cut 4 simultaneous grooves into this record. So they cut the first one with a gigantic space between them, cut another one so that it's closer to there, leaving enough space to put a third groove in. There's 4 short programs on this one disc. Each one of them is a horse race call, what's called the stretch call, as the horses round the final turn, and you've got, a pneumatic tire coming up on the inside, and so this announcer is calling this race. All 4 of those grooves start with the same call, but each groove has a different horse winning at the end. So you've got a 1 in 4 chance of guessing which horse is going to finish. And since the grooves are so close together and the thing's turning fast, it's really hard for the operator to know which one they're dropping into. If you started from a stop, you could. But if it's spinning, it's going to be too random. You're not going to be able to predict which groove that ends up with. But leave it to technology, from back there to invent a way so that they can keep their armed forces engaged.
Going from counting cards to counting grooves.
Leave comments if you find that as interesting as I do. Here at MasterDisc, we can, as proven, cut a multi-track racetrack groove. One of the things to consider is that both of the 2 grooves, if they're happening simultaneous, have to be the same length in duration. That doesn't mean they have to have the same amount of audio. It's just that if one ends earlier, we have to continue that groove all the way out into the lockout. In this case, they used exactly the same song. The songs ended in the same place, and the lockout was where it needed to be. If I created a locked groove where the shorter one ends, I would be cutting right through the other groove before it gets to completion, and that creates a mess, a real mess. So that's the racetrack groove. An oddity, but a reality. Thanks for watching Making Vinyl at MasterDisc with Garrett and Scott. We'll see you next time.